Hey guys, Michelle here, the Loony Comedy Club. We had an amazing interview with James Johann. He's traveled with Larry the Cable Guy for several years. He's in town. Check it out. Great show. He'll be here all weekend. Check that out. As always, we appreciate you watching. Thank you so much. If you like us, please subscribe. And we'll see you next week.
Hello, are we live?
We're live.
Hi, everybody.
Live at 215.
Live from the 215. I gotta be funny. James Johann, I'm a professional comedian. I started when I was about 19 and I'm in my 40s now, so it's been a hot minute since I've been on stage, yeah. So I live in a little town called Paola, Kansas, and it's a lot like every other little town you've been to, you know, typical small towns. And it's always nice just to run over here to Wichita and get to do, you know, this is almost practically home. I can be home in 2.5 hours, so it's really cool to be in Wichita, so that's cool. Oh, what do you want, the cool story or the truth? Let's see. The cool story would be that I just always knew I wanted to do it and it was like in my blood or whatever, but I think it was more like after high school I couldn't find a job I liked. So one day my mom goes, well, you think you're so damn funny, why don't you go down to the comedy club and find out? And she took me to my first show and we walked in and watched a couple Kansas City local guys and I was blown away, and the next week I'm like, well, I'm going to open mic. And the bitch of it is that they wouldn't let me in. I was so young without my mom. So really? I had to do all these, you know, jokes in front of my mom in the front row, you know, so that changed the way I had to write my jokes there for a while, because you know your mom's sitting right there. And people that come up to me after a show and say, well, I've been thinking about trying it, you know, or whatever, I always tell them to get up and give it one try. Because even if you don't do well, even if they don't laugh a lot, you're going to know if you like the feeling of being on stage. So I never discourage it. So I think one of the most important things to do on stage is just find a voice for yourself, you know, make yourself that this is that guy or this guy. Take like a Larry the Cable Guy, or, you know, just anybody that has their own real good persona. You know, it's basically just an extension of who they are. I lived on a bus with Larry the Cable Guy for 2 years. Like, I toured with Jeff Foxworthy and Cable Guy. I did a few shows with like the other blue collar guys like Ron White and Bill Engvall, but for the most part I was with Larry on the tour bus doing the theaters. And but I was working with him back before he even broke out of clubs. You know, he would be like just a normal headliner like me. Of course, every night the clubs were getting packed and people were lined up around the building to see him, so we knew it wasn't going to be too long before he was off to bigger and better things. But he paid me well and I had a good time, so you know, awesome. Can't knock Cable Guy for that. I don't really sit at a computer, and I don't know many guys that do, and just like, I'm going to write a joke about a tree or, you know, a goat or whatever I'm going to write about. I just a lot of times I'll just think of a funny thing I want to say, like a funny line, and then you can build a joke around it, or it basically comes out of a real life story, you know, something that's happened that you can exaggerate, or maybe you don't even need to exaggerate because it's a crazy thing. But a lot of my stuff's just jotted down on bar napkins. You know, hey, that's a funny thing if you word it this way or say it this way, and then I'll make the joke out of that one little idea. You know, but there's not a lot of sitting down with notebooks and trying to get. You know, there's not a lot of that. It's just it's too fluid for me to sit there and go have to force like writing a term paper. Oh man, I got into it because it was one of those things where it was like, I just loved listening to it, you know. It made me laugh, it made me look at things in a new way, you know, George Carlin or whatever. I went to Catholic school and you couldn't say a lot of stuff, you know. There was a lot of, it was very, you know, restrict, and, you know, so it was like it was a way to express yourself where it was almost like forbidden. You know, some of the stuff like George Carlin talked about, my mom would not let me watch that crap when I was living under her roof, you know, but I've been doing it so long now that it's kind of, in a way, it's kind of become just a job, you know, because it's what I do. But I still enjoy getting on stage. Like the travel and everything kind of gets to me after a while, and I don't mean to complain about any of it because I'm just happy to be doing it. But really, some nights getting on stage that's the part of it I've been waiting for the whole, you know, week, you know, or whatever. So, but it's something I've always loved, and I'll never not love it. You know, if I quit comedy tomorrow, I'd still be a comedy fan. It's not just the guys and women you've heard of. You know, there are some ferociously funny comics that you may have never heard their name, and that's why I think people should go to their local club and support, because you may see somebody that in 2 years they may be a big superstar, but as of now they're not. You know, and just because, you know, someone's famous doesn't necessarily mean they're the best or whatever. You can go out and see some really quality comics at your local club, even if you've never heard of them. Well, so I always encourage that, you know, because it's too easy to go online and get, you know, Louis C.K. or this guy or that guy or this her, you know, so it's like, well, go to the club and see somebody you've never seen before. I do a lot of just mostly Facebook. I have a website being designed right now. It's kind of in perpetual design, but jamesjohann.com is where that will be. And then Facebook is the best way. And I enjoy Facebook and like Twitter because you can actually interact. You know, I think that's the coolest thing about the new generation stuff is you can interact with your fans. You know, some of them you have to delete because they get weird. Yeah. But when people can actually see your life and talk to you or tell you, hey, I enjoyed the show, I think that's the coolest thing. You know, yeah. So I do a lot of Facebook. So find me on Facebook. James Johann. James Johann \9 or something. Just Google me. It's a picture of me. It'll be the guy that looks like me. When I was a kid, I couldn't say my aw's, you know, and I really had, I couldn't say that letter for some reason. And they'd stick me in the hallway with this lady, and seriously, like, you know, they used to take you to the bathroom in long lines. They'd take a bathroom break, the whole class. And I'm out there going, you know, in front of all these people. But they finally got me to fix it, so I guess I'm thankful that I can say my R's now, yeah. Aw's. So don't be making fun of Sugar Lump here now. That's my lady. Hold still for you. No, she told me to take the tip of my tongue and put it at the roof of my mouth because I wasn't using my tongue to make the R sound. You know, my tongue was being very lazy, I guess, and probably a lot of ladies don't want to hear that. But good. No, I do a little poetry in my show. I like it to be a little poetic, especially for the ladies. They seem to like it. For the ladies. They laugh at me, so that's good. Make a woman laugh, you're doing good. I'll sit and go, should I get up today and try to write a funny joke? Because I just saw a guy on YouTube stick a leaf blower down his underwear and blow his junk around for 5 minutes, and he's got 4 million likes.